What is going on, guys? Beach Farmer Fishing here, and today in this video I'm going to show you how I exactly rig up for surf fishing. In this video I'm going to talk about all the surf fishing gear that I use, down to rods, fishing reels, leader, line, shock leader, everything you need to know to be more successful in your next surf fishing trip. Let's do it. Alright guys, I do want to let you guys know that I use a lot of breakaway fishing tackle. So if you want to buy a breakaway rod, Alright guys, so just to let you know guys, I use a lot of breakaway stuff. I like to support local. Breakaway tackle is in Corpus Christi, so if you want to buy any of the gear, you can use code BOMBER10 to save up 10% on your next breakaway order. Alright guys, so I do have a disclosure because I know it's going to pop up in the comments. I use both spinning and conventional. It makes zero difference. You can catch big fish with either or. It's mainly a preference, okay? So this is going to catch just as much as fish as is. In Texas, people love to use conventional. If they see you using spin, they're like, oh, you suck. It doesn't matter. I use both. You'll see me soaking bait with both at the same time, so it really doesn't matter. But I will say that if you're gonna be casting lures in the surf, huge lures, then you're probably better off sticking with a spinning reel like this. But for the most part, soaking bait, surf fishing, it doesn't matter what you use. They're both gonna catch big fish. It's a preference, just like, you know, some people like to drive cars versus trucks. It doesn't matter. It's gonna catch fish, all right? So disclosure, it's okay to use spinning or conventional, it doesn't matter. Neither makes you better than the other. All right guys, so the next most important question that I'm always asked, this is a pretty controversial question because the meaning of this means different things to different people, but it's a really important question. This can make or break your surf fishing trip, especially if you're fishing really nasty beaches with a lot of shell. It's the use of shock leader. People call it top shot, I call it shock leader, but that is one of the most important pieces of equipment that you're gonna be using on your terminal tackle, on your fishing reels. The reason that's important because that's gonna either make or break your trip, because a lot of beaches, especially in the upper Texas coast, Crystal Beach, McFadden, Sargent, those beaches have a lot of shell. If you're not using adequate shock leader, you're gonna break off instantly. So the other reason why you need to use shock leader is because the first 10 yards of your line that's at the beach is always gonna be buried under the sand because all those breaking waves are gonna be laying more and more sand. Your line is gonna dig in. The more that it rubs, the more frill the line's gonna get, and it's gonna break off once you hook set or if a big fish takes your line. So, which is why it's important to use a shock leader. So here I got my Cortez 12. I got around 20 feet of shock leader here. Tapered shock leader. So that's what I like to use. That's gonna be the next point is, what kind of shock leader? Are you just using straight mono shock leader? Which you can, but the biggest concern is when you tie a knot, this is gonna be banging on your guides. So to negate that, what we do is, all right guys, this is tapered shock leader. The reason they call this tapered shock leader is because it starts at 18 pounds and the end is 70 pounds. This is 13 meters by 5 liters here, and this is why it's called tapered shock leader. What you're gonna do here is, if you're using 50-pound braid, I know people are gonna be like, well, if I have 50-pound braid, why would I tie to 18-pound mono? You're not gonna do that. But FYI, 50-pound braid is a mono equivalent of 12 pounds. But anyways, what you're gonna do with this is, you're gonna eye it. You're gonna eyeball where you think 30-pound or 40-pound mono is, and you tie that with an Albright knot. That's gonna give you a small, thin knot, heavy enough to land most fish. All right, so here I got my Cortez 12 here. This is 30 to 100 pounds, I think, shock leader. But look, see, this is really thick here. I mean, nothing's gonna break that. That is super thick. But when we go down to the knot is not too bad. I gotta trim the tag in right there because I just tied this. But this here runs through the guides without hitting them, especially if you start out like 20 meters in. The power of the cast is not gonna be right away. So when you reach to this knot here, you're not gonna be casting at its full power. So it's gonna be less breakoffs. You're not gonna hear this running through the guides. This is perfect. This is what you need. Trust me, you're gonna need shock leader. Once you start fishing a lot of heavy beaches like Crystal Beach and all them ones with a lot of shells, you're gonna wish you had this. To quickly summarize shock leader, use shock leader 30 to either 100 pounds, but always tie with an upright knot to 30 pounds of the shock leader. Now, you don't have to specifically use this brand here. I just got this off of Amazon. This is probably not the best, but if you go to breakawaytackleusa.com, Nick has a lot of different shock leaders. Those are gonna be the more superior ones for sure. But always use shock leader, especially tapered, because if you're gonna be using regular like this is 60 pounds, that's gonna be a thick knot. That's gonna hit you guys always. All right guys, so now next up, this is gonna be my favorite section of the video. I love talking about gear. We're gonna talk about the surf fishing rods and reels, but we're gonna start out with reels. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can either use spinning or conventional. It doesn't make a difference. Whatever your preference is, whatever you feel more comfortable with, is what's gonna be better and what's gonna make you more successful. But whether you like to use either or, I am gonna give you some tips on to how to use even better gear of that, because distance matters when you're surf fishing, but more importantly is accuracy. Accuracy is what really matters when you're surf fishing, because you gotta make sure you get those baits right in between those guts, past the troughs, past the sandbars. If you see holes on the beach, you wanna actually get your bait in there. Casting super far away that's not always gonna be the difference maker. Sometimes it is, like right now, the tide is hell out right now. Yeah, you're gonna have to cast out far, but most of the time, casting far is not gonna be the biggest thing when you're surf fishing. Maybe you're fishing for pompano, then that's when it's gonna be a difference, but for any other kind of fishing, it doesn't matter, all right? So let's go ahead and begin with spinning reels, because that's what most people like to use. This is my favorite spinning reel to use when I'm surf fishing. This is the Okuma Flight Surf. Check it out. The reason I like this is because this has the elongated spool here that you see a lot of people that cast really long and hard. The elongated spool here is gonna allow your line to go out further because it has a bigger, taller area where the lines will be pulling off compared to a regular spinning reel. This is what gives you a lot of distance when you're casting with these surf reels right here. You see how long it is? This here is gonna give you more power, more distance, more accuracy. Now, the next thing why this is gonna be a better surf fishing reel is because it has really slow oscillation. Check it out, look how slow that spool is going up and down. That is super slow oscillation, and that's gonna lay your line super evenly on the spool, and that's gonna be another part why you're gonna get harder, further casts and more accurate casts with a spinning reel like this. It's gonna be important, trust me. Once you start surf fishing hardcore, you're gonna notice a difference that these elongated spools are way better than the standard spinning reel for that reason. I got this full 50-pound braid, taper shock leader. This is 30 to 100 pounds. It's always gonna be the same thing. The other reason why I like to use the Flight is because this has a lot of drag. You can stop a lot of fish. And what this one is, when you're really in heavy weights, a lot of elongated surf spools are gonna have one problem. They wobble. This one doesn't wobble. When you're pulling in a big fish with this, it's not gonna wobble. It's not gonna feel like you're breaking. It doesn't sit here and twist at the reel seat like some other reels do. For 200 bucks, this is a great surf fishing reel. I really highly recommend this. Check it out. This is the Okuma Flight 12,000. Perfect surf fishing reel. Catches a lot of fish. I've caught sharks, bull reds, jacks, drum, everything. Big fish with this reel here. Check it out. Now, I did mention that I had a budget option with the surf fishing reels. Here is an Okuma Surf 8K. This is a $100 surf spinning reel here. I call this a budget beast because this is 100 bucks, but it has all the qualities of a hardcore long casting reel. I think a distance record was broken with this reel here in Texas. I don't know exactly who broke it, but it was broken with the Surf 8K. But for $100, this has everything you need to get started surf fishing. This has an elongated spool, the slow oscillation, but my favorite thing about the Surf 8K is listen to that drag. Really loud drag clicker, check it out. A lot of surf spinning reels with the elongated spools lack a nice loud clicker. This has it. This is $100. It's gonna have its flaws. You know, this one does wiggle, wobble a little bit when you're really in big fish. But for 100 bucks, what could you ask for? You know, this is perfect. Budget setup right here. The rod that I have this on is a 12-foot Okuma Rockaway. This has all quality components for 120 bucks. Check it out, all quality components on it. Sea Guide, Fuji reel seats, really good. I've caught big fish with this, and you can load the hell out of this here. This is rated, I think, 8 ounces to a pound. You're not gonna always cast a pound. You're gonna be casting gain and bait. So more than likely, if you're fishing hardcore, you're gonna be casting maybe like 12 to 14 ounces. But man, this is budget beast, so you can catch anything. Sharks, drum, reds, jacks, everything. The rod is Okuma Rockaway HD 12 foot, Surf 8K, 50-pound braid. Perfect budget setup to get started. Check it out. And I also added the breakaway cannon here. This is really important. We'll talk about that in a little bit here, all right? So on all my hardcore surf spinning reels, I add the breakaway cannon. Check it out. This little piece of equipment here gives you, I guarantee you, this is gonna give you a 30% casting increase, because you are gonna trick your brain into casting more powerful and stronger. Because, okay, let's put it this way. One thing that holds you back when you're surf fishing is you're gonna have webby, wet hands, right? They're gonna get all pruny and stuff. What's gonna happen is that psychologically, you're not gonna cast really hard when your hands are like that, because when you hold the line like this, the more weight you add to the line, the more it's gonna dig into your finger. If your fingers are all wet and pruny, you're gonna get cuts. I mean, my fingers here are all messed up here. I don't even feel the side of my fingers anymore, because that's how much damage they've had from surf fishing hardcore, from cuts and banging and everything. I almost freaking cut off this chunk of skin right here. It almost got degloved from a hardcore cast one day a few years ago, like 12 years ago. When I added this casting cannon here, it increased my accuracy, it increased the casting power. Simply as you wrap it around this knob here and just cast it out hard. Now I do want to mention also is that I posted a video about this on TikTok last year, and it's so funny. Men are so funny in the sense that it almost seems like the more inefficient we are, the more masculine we are, right? The more manly it makes us. And the reason I say that is because when I made a video about this, people were making fun of me, calling me, oh, you woman, you ain't got no nuts, poor guy, did you bring your tampon with you, blah, 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 blah. Frankly, those guys don't cast and fish as hard as we do, because they say that it doesn't hurt them. It's because they don't fish as hard as we do. They're not casting almost a pound like I do. So they don't know what that feels like. That's why they think it's all like girly to use these. But trust me, hardcore surf anglers, they're using these. They're using these to cast further, more accurate casts. This makes you way more efficient, more powerful, and you're gonna be casting harder, further every single time with the casting cannon. Check it out. Now let's talk about conventional. Here, I like to use conventional. I like to use both. Most of the time I am using conventional. I'm more used to using conventional. I can cast harder with conventional. I have more control and more accuracy with conventional. This is what I like to use here. This is my Okuma Cortez. This is a size 12. I prefer the 5. And the reason I like the 5 is because it's much more compact. I can cast it further. The spool is smaller, which spins faster, gives you more distance. Unfortunately, a lot of people think they don't feel comfortable using smaller reels. I know what I can do. I know how to set the drags. I know how to use the drags to fight the fish. So with me, a size 5 reel is perfect to catch almost anything at the beach. I've caught huge fish with just a small conventional, but a lot of people feel more comfortable with something bigger, which is fine. This Cortez here holds maybe like 600 yards. I think 500 or 600 yards to 50-pound braid. That's a lot. That's so much. But the main reason I like the Cortez is because it's light, but it is one of the only reels that comes from a factory mag. Check it out here. The magnet here is what counts. This is what is gonna help you get further, longer casts without getting a bird's nest. Check it out. That is the magnet there. I got to set the max because the spool is super wobbly, and I was casting like 3 ounces on this rod, which is totally underloaded. But check it out, the Cortez here, budget beast. You can get this for 180 bucks. This year I've caught a lot of fish. I caught a 60-pound black drum in heavy current with this, no problem. I've caught many reds, I've caught jacks, all kinds of fish with the Cortez here. Check it out, spooled with 50-pound braid, 30 to 100-pound shock leader. I love the Cortez. It's not only because I'm sponsored by Okuma, because I think it's a great reel. Check it out. I like to use the 5. The 5 is my favorite. I can really bomb it out there. Check it out. Look, nice fast spool here. And that's with the magnet on too here. So it's gonna take off quick. and then stop. So it's gonna have a lot of acceleration right there, but it will stop. And then if you loosen up the magnum here, check it out. Continue spinning. That's 0 magnet right there. You see that? Just spinning. Tying the magnet, check it out. Big difference, right? You see? That's how it's gonna prevent you from getting a burst nest, because trust me, if you're casting into the wind with these, especially in Galveston beaches, it's gonna be blowing like 15 to 20 the majority of the time in your face. This is gonna prevent you from getting a nasty bird's nest. 180 bucks, you're not gonna find another reel that's magged for that price. Budget beast, check it out, I love it. Caught a lot of fish with it, check it out. Nice, comfortable handle here, and the next thing is super loud clicker, check it out. You're gonna be able to hear that clicker through breaking waves. It'll wake you up at night, trust me. This is really important when you're fishing conventional, super loud, crispy clickers like this. Now, the next thing I wanna talk about when I'm fishing conventional, I always add this rubber tube here. This is a surgical tubing, and what this does is, again, this is another aid that's gonna help you cast further and harder, is your fingers get slippery, they're all wet from surf fishing, right? So when you get this here, you use it to thumb the spool here, check it out like that. You're gonna grip the spool here, it's gonna give you more power on the spool, it's not gonna slip. When you're going, get your bait out there really hard, this is gonna help you grip the spool, it's not gonna slip from under you. And boom, it's gonna go. And if you need it to use to stop the spool for some reason, you can quickly just lightly thumb the spool here and it's gonna slow it down. If you feel like you're gonna get a bird's nest, just lightly tap it and it'll stop it. And this is gonna help you a lot, because trust me, if you're casting hard enough, further enough with power, stopping this with your thumb is gonna burn. But surgical tubing here, you can get this at Home Depot, Amazon, wherever it is here. I have about 4 inches of it, and I put it right here at the base of the reel seat and the reel right there, check it out. So yeah, those are some of the combos that I like to use when I'm surf fishing. This is what I'm always using with. I'm always taking these everywhere I go. That's the reels. When it comes to the rods, always gonna be Breakaway HDXs, check it out. This is my Beach Bomber Breakaway HDX here. I put a vinyl sticker on here, but check it out. The reason I like to use these things are broomsticks. They have really good bend, but you're not gonna break them. You're not gonna overload the HDX. This thing is rated 4 to 8 ounces. It's severely underrated, to be honest. I think this is more of an 8 ounce to a pound rod, but don't do that, all right? But I've loaded the hell out of these super hard. I've caught big fish at like 25 pounds of drag, and like the rod tip is barely bending. I mean, this thing's a beast. It's a freaking monster to catch fish. You can land any kind of fish with this Breakaway HDX, check it out. I did change out the reel seat on this one because I've had this specific rod, I think I've had it for like 10 years. So the reel seat broke on me, so I put a purple reel seat on it just because, but check it out. Breakaway HDX is where it's at right here when it comes to surf rods, check it out. And the other Breakaway that I like to use is gonna be the Breakaway Ballista, check it out. This is a 13 foot, just like the HDX, but this one has a little way more action. You can use this for 8 and bait, or you can use it for heavy lures on the beach. Check it out. Breakaway Ballista, great rod here. 8 and baiter, definitely. You can switch it for lures. Perfect, check it out. 13 feet, I like to use 13 feet. And let me tell you one thing also, one thing that helps me also to figure out, sometimes, you know, the distance from the butt to the reel seat makes a difference. The longer it is sometimes, the more leverage you can get. But if you want to accurately measure how much of a distance you need from the butt to the reel seat, just do this here, check it out. So what you do, you start at your sternum here, and you stick your hand out right here. If this is what you're measuring, your palm is exactly on the reel seat, and it's on your sternum, this is gonna be the perfect length handle to use. Gives you even more leverage to cast. Breakaway Ballista, if you want to buy Breakaway rods, again, BreakawayTackleUSA.com, use code BOMBER10, you get a discount. Check it out. Just to let you guys know, I do have one combo that is not going to be featured in this channel. It's going to be going to the Elite AF fishing channel. Check it out, link in the description. But since it's going to be a lure fishing channel, that's going to be the combo that I use for strictly surf casting lures at the beach to catch big fish. Check it out. We're going to talk about that at the Elite AF fishing channel. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about are going to be some of the accessories and the leaders that I use. Most of the time, actually, yeah, 90% of the time, I am going to be using these Beach Bomber Elite Series leaders made by Third Coast Tackle. And the reason I like to use this is because there's going to be a lot of sharks in our area. And with any other leader, they're going to bite through it. And with this here, haven't had a problem with sharks biting through them. I've caught a lot of sharks on this 6-foot leader here. Check it out. I mean, it seems like overkill, but trust me, if you have a shark that comes by, a 6-foot shark, which has happened many times, this is going to save you. 16-aught hook, pretty big. This is a hardcore setup. Now, if you don't want to get these kinds of leaders, you can make your own leader. You don't need a 16-aught hook. You can get away with a 10-aught hook, 9-aught hook. But this is what I just prefer, just in case some big fish come along. Check it out. It's a 6-foot leader, 16-aught hook. It's black, of course. I'm lame and bland, no color in my life. But this works perfect for me. I've caught a lot of fish with this setup right here. Check it out. Now weights, every single time that I'm surf fishing, I'm always gonna be using 8 ounces. Unless I'm fishing from Pompano, I'm gonna be using 4 ounces. But every time that I'm surf fishing, always 8 ounces. I like to load my rods good. I like my stuff to get anchored because I like to fish in really heavy currents when the waves are breaking hard. And sometimes an 8-ounce weight is gonna be the only thing that anchors you pretty good. So here we go, always 8-ounce weight, which is why I have really hardcore rods, because this is what I like to cast. Big baits, big lures, big weights. Another accessory that I like to bring is I always bring a sabiki rig with me. I bring a lighter setup and throw on a sabiki rig to catch a small bait fish, a pinfish, whiting. I love using whiting for bait. So this is gonna be holding, and this is gonna catch whiting big time. Croaker, R&R, check it out. Tournament grade, 8 strong hooks. R&R sabiki rigs here. This is the best you can get here as a sabiki rig. And I've caught a lot of bait fish, and in exchange, we've caught from the bait fish, we've caught some big reds and jacks with these. Check it out. And this is how I rig up for surf fishing. This is how I've caught a lot of fish. I've been surf fishing for a long time, and it's taken me a lot of try and error to figure out what it works for me. And this is exactly what works for me all the time. This is how I catch 50-inch bull reds, jacks, sharks. Anything without a drone surf fishing, this is what I'm using to catch big fish, all right? So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this video helps you form a good idea of what to get the next time you are surf fishing. If you have any other questions or comments or better ways you think that are better than this, let me know in the comments, all right? Let me know in the comments what the biggest fish you've caught in the surf. And if you need more questions, let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do, all right? Thanks for watching, guys.